On December 17, 1903, American inventors and pioneers Orville and Wilbur Wright made history with the first controlled, powered, and sustained flight at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Their hand-built flying machine was just briefly airborne, but those 12 seconds marked the birth of modern aviation. In the summer of 1910, the Wright brothers made history in Peoria, sending their first instructor with one of their biplanes for an exhibition flight. The first planes had come to Peoria. On October 9, 1911, Peoria made aviation history again as a stop for Cal Rogers, the first pilot to complete a transcontinental flight across the United States. Rogers' airplane was little more than a spruce and linen kite by today's standards, with an open-air seat and a top speed of roughly 50 miles per hour. Later, Charles Slim Lindbergh would make many a stop in Peoria as he flew the Chicago to St. Louis U.S. air mail route. During this time, he conceived his plan to make the world's first New York to Paris nonstop flight. Aviation has come a long way since then. Peoria's first commercial airport was nothing more than a grass strip and a wooden hangar in northern Peoria, about where Grand Prairie Mall is today. In 1932, the location changed to its current home and a new terminal was built. Over the years, the airport continued to grow and evolve to meet the ever-increasing demand for the convenience of air travel. Numerous airlines, some long forgotten, have graced our runways as they connected Peoria to the world. In the 1950s, Peoria had about 50,000 passengers a year. Today, we have that many pass through our doors in a month. Air travel in Peoria has changed as well. Exactly 100 years after Cal Rogers made his historic stop in Peoria, the new state-of-the-art terminal at the General Wayne A. Downing Peoria International Airport was open to the public. At the General Wayne A. Downing Peoria International Airport, we look forward to continuing a tradition of aviation excellence in Central Illinois.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Gene Olson and I'm the Director of Airports for the Metropolitan Airport Authority Peoria. And I'm here to talk to you about the General Wayne A. Downing Peoria International Airport. You've just seen some of the history of our airport. A couple of things to add to the video. That airplane that Cal Rogers flew was called the Vin Fizz, and that was named after a grape soda that was apparently so bad no one could drink it. It's just been real neat to put that video together and to be able to share it with you. So picking up today, and talking a little bit about the airport and where we've come and where we're going. We've been growing tremendously. We have had 4 record years in a row, and then we also had a little bit of a down year in 2016. Our passenger counts for the first 3 months of this year are all up. This is our route map. In 2006, we had 6 destination cities. And 4 of those were hubs, and the rest were fun places to go on Allegiant. And today we have 10 destinations, and then as of yesterday, Thursday, we added another one, which was Destin, Florida. So you can see we've really not quite doubled the number of places you can go from Peoria. So why is this important? The reason it's important is because the airport provides access to markets for both business and leisure travelers. The map that's on the wall behind me basically shows all the cities that you can get to with one change of planes. So you fly to a hub, you change planes, and you can get to all of these other cities. This is just the domestic locations you can get to. And I know that map looks like a mess, but that's kind of the point. The next map shows all of the locations that you can get to in the world with one change of planes. And so it looks like a mess again, but that's the point. If you have to make 2 changes of planes, I think you can probably get to almost the rest of the world. If you have to make 3 changes of airplanes, I'm not really sure that you want to go to that place. So a question I get all the time is, why is Peoria called international? And the short answer is because we have customs. We have today about 55 people per day going each way. That's outbound and returning, which in past days has been as much as 8.5% of our traffic. The most important thing there, though, is it accounts for about 17% of airline revenue. So when you say, well, is 8.5% a lot? St. Louis only has about 5%. But as I said, the main reason that we're called international is because we have customs. We provide an office in our cargo complex for the customs port director, and a couple of years ago they sent us a letter that basically was a do or die letter. It said, you have to build us a new facility because the existing facility that you provide us does not meet our standards. So you either have to build us a new one, or we're going to move to the federal building and we'll lose all international function. So we've actually built that. We're using that building right now for domestic use. One of the other big projects that we have going on is the demolition of our old terminal. Right now, air traffic control is the only function left in that old terminal. And the building is falling apart. It's unsuitable for our use. That's why we moved out, and we've been working with the FAA to try to get them to understand that they need to move out as well. We went and did a site selection. That's what AFTEL means. You expect you're going to the FAA Technical Center in Atlantic City, and you're expecting a really neat facility. It's a pole barn in the woods. You can't drink the water, and there's radar absorbing material all over the roof. So you walk in there and your cell phone signal instantly goes to 0. But it was a neat experience. It's a computer lab and a carpentry shop. And we did the site selection study, started the design for the new tower in the summer of 2014. And now we're waiting for funding. And I'm not sure what happened to my slideshow. So we've done the design for the control tower, and we're waiting for funding to try to build that. It's going to take about $20 million. And I'd like to talk a little bit about our challenges going forward. Probably our biggest challenge is retaining passengers in our area. We did a study that looked at where people are buying tickets, and then when they buy the ticket, where do they get on an airplane? And it's a difficult process to trace, but what we found out was that Peoria retains about 58% of the tickets that are purchased in our area. So what that means is there's probably close to 1,700 people per day that are flying on an airliner, and about 800 of those, 800 or 900 of those per day are getting on airplanes in Peoria. The rest are mostly the biggest, what we call leakage, is mostly going to Chicago or St. Louis, with a little bit going to Indianapolis. So if we could capture all of those passengers that are driving to Chicago to get on airplanes either at O'Hare or Midway, and we could get them to get on airplanes in Peoria, then we would have enough passengers to fill basically 10 round trips. 5 round trips a day, 10 one-way flights a day. So why do people fly out of Chicago when they live in Peoria? Well, I've heard, they think that the flights are more reliable or that they're cheaper. We crunched a few numbers and we found out that if you're on a business trip and you're operating an automobile to go to Chicago and come back, your cost is about $400 on top of what that ticket costs. And the same cost to get you from, say, downtown Peoria to the Peoria airport is going to be in the neighborhood of $40. So you're paying quite a bit more to fly out of Chicago. If it was a personal trip and you're not counting all of the costs to operate the car, then of course the costs are lower, but you're still looking at probably around $60 to get from Peoria to Chicago and back. And that's using the IRS charitable mileage rate. So all you accountants out there can be familiar with that. But so the same cost to get from Peoria to the airport and back is about $6. So you have to look and see if that cheaper fare that you're getting out of Chicago is really cheaper in the long run. And that's not even counting the security line you're going to have to stand in at O'Hare, which is at least double the length of the one in Peoria. And it doesn't count the possibility of any construction delays or traffic jams on the Illinois highways as you're heading up there. So with these talks, one of the things that we always want to have is a call to action. We were able to start service to Punta Gorda and start service to Destin, Florida, because we knew the market and we knew things about Peoria and the market that, the market for air travel that the airline could never know in their data sets. One of the things we knew was that the county in Florida where Punta Gorda is located had so many property owners in Florida that were from Peoria that their Chamber of Commerce actually has a Peoria Day. We communicated that to the airline and we're able to convince them that Punta Gorda was a good place to go. Same thing with Destin. We knew that there were so many people from Peoria who drive to Destin and want to travel down there. So we were able to communicate that information, and we are now actually able to have those flights. So the current slide that you're looking at, that's the old terminal that we started with, and then we removed everything except the green and the red. We were going to remove everything except the red, but we needed the green to help keep it up. So my call to action basically is for, if you're watching this, we want to know where it is you travel. We want to know how do you get there, and we want to know your difficulty stories. How are you traveling where you're having difficulty or you have to make extra connections? And we want to know that. So we'd like you to reach out to us either via email through the airport's website or via our Facebook webpage and give us your travel stories. So we'd like to know where is it you're going so we can put together the next anecdote that we can take to the airlines and see if we can turn that into new service as well. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for having me, and it was a lot of fun to come and talk to you about the airport, where we've been and where we hope to go.